New videos every day.
I'm Celina and this is FoodSmarty. We're going to do some really great meals here that are really smart about your food choices. So this meal's all vegetarian or really all vegan because we're not using any dairy or any meat. And you'll be surprised how filling this meal is. We're going to make 3 different things: a really nice cruciferous vegetable salad with some kidney beans, and we're going to make some cranberry brown rice, give it some nice sweet flavor, and then a butternut squash soup. Okay, for our butternut squash soup, we're going to start with a base of a yellow onion, which we're going to brown up really nicely. Then we have our aromatics, which are really just onion, celery, and carrot. Those are really great bases for any sort of soup that you're going to do. And then we have our butternut squash, and I like to it's so difficult to deal with this butternut squash. I like to just plop the whole thing down in the oven like this, and it takes a little while to cook. If you want to take extra time, you can, put it in quarters and put some water in the pan and cook it. Another advantage of cooking it whole like this is you keep all the moisture in, and I find it really makes a really nice roasted moist flavor. And then I've got this is some savory, and you can really use any sort of green herb you have in this. Sage works really good. If you just have parsley, you can do that. You can use what's another good one? Thyme. I really like thyme. Maybe a little oregano, but I would go for marjoram, thyme, savory, or parsley as your herbs in this soup. Any of those will be really nice. Okay, so I'm going to throw the butternut squash in the oven. Butternut squash it's in the same family actually as melon and cucumbers. And when you're shopping for it, you want to get one that's heavy for its weight. It also has kind of a dull skin. You don't want to have anything, any mold spots or any soft spots. That'll mean it's kind of rotting and stuff like that. You don't want that. Butternut squash is really great. It's from it's got a lot of carotenoids in it, which are really good anti-inflammatory properties, and I'll talk more about that. But for now, I'm going to throw some olive oil in my pan here and heat that up. And then we're going to chop up our yellow onion, get that browning up. Onions are one of the oldest foods there actually are. I think the ancient Egyptians used them, and I don't know, I was reading something about how they were one of the main foods for people building the pyramids, and it's not surprising. They really have all kinds of great properties. They're in the same family as garlic. So onions, the best way to cut them is, sometimes people have trouble cutting them, is just to cut it in half and then cut it 1, 2, 3 this way. And then you're going to cut it along this way, and then one more along this way. And then you get all those nice even sizes, and that's really great for cooking it up the same. They'll all be caramelized at the same time. So onions, they're anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. They're really great for, sinus infections and that sort of thing, especially in the raw form. What I'll even do is right before, if I've made something I'm a little sick, right before it's done cooking, I'll kind of blend up some raw onion and throw that in there. So you don't get that raw onion texture, but you get the health benefits. And that's a really great thing. But I love to sweeten them up, and if you cook them for a really long time on kind of medium to medium low, they'll turn nice and brown and get really sweet because those sugars released from the caramelization. But I think the active ingredient in onions is organophosphates, if you're interested. So I'm going to put those in there, and then I'm going to chop these carrots in kind of some big chunks. Put those in a little bit later after the onions cook for about 20 minutes. Carrots, all green, or not green, but carrots, all orange vegetables, have carotenoids in them, which are really great antioxidants. And one carotenoid, beta-carotene, is in green vegetables, and that's otherwise known as vitamin A. And carrots are really great for night vision. They can help prevent macular degeneration. If you have something like that runs in your family, then you can use it for that. Turn off these onions. And I'm going to chop up my celery. I like to do some of the celery in the beginning and some later on. Especially fun thing to do is to put some little celery pieces if you like celery chunks, or in this soup we're just going to blend up the whole thing. You can make it a smooth soup. So it's your choice. If you want little pieces of chunky celery in there, you can put them in later. We're going to make it all smooth today. I think I read somewhere that celery is really good for it's an alkalizing vegetables. A lot of meats and dairy and that sort of thing can be acidifying, but your body needs to stay in a more alkaline state. And celery is a great vegetable for that. I did 2 stalks of celery, but I like to add some more of these little leaves here. They're really great because they add a lot of flavor into that base of the soup. Let's just chop those up. Okay, now while these onions are cooking, give them a little stir. And those will probably take about 20 minutes, and after about 20 minutes, we'll add in our other stuff and let that cook a little bit. And our squash, we're cooking at 350 for about an hour. If you have cut it in half, you can do about 30 minutes or so until you prick a fork in it and it's really soft. Okay, so here's our onions. When they start to get like brown and kind of translucent and yellow like that, start smelling really sweet. That's like your perfect stage, and that took about 20 minutes. We don't need them to be truly, completely caramelized, just a little brown. So we're going to add in our carrots here and let those soften up and add in a lot of our celery. We're just going to add like half the celery and add the other half later for those alkalizing effects of that celery, which most vegetables tend to do better when they're raw with respect to that sort of thing. So we're just going to throw those in there and stir it up a little bit. Oh, I also like to add some of my herbs in at the beginning and the end. It gives a different depth and dimension to your cooking. So I'm just going to add some of this savory here. Got this from this lady at the farmer's market. She grows all these really great herbs, so it's not one I usually use. But again, you can use anything in your spice rack that you have. Even if you don't have any, you could just do without the herbs, but little green herbs goes a long way. Okay, so I'm going to cut this butternut squash in half. It's a little bit cheating from what I said earlier, but it's really, really large. And we want to eat dinner. We're hungry. So I'm just going to kind of make a big cut right there. We're going to let it finish cooking because it's still kind of raw right there in the middle, which should be okay. Then I might add a little bit of water down in the pan so it doesn't dry out. But see how easy that was? It was just like, shoop. And we just got it all cut. Usually I have to like struggle. I used to struggle over these things for so long. Try to cut it. Okay. Just gonna slide that back in there. That finished cooking. And then I love to use like a vegetarian broth for the soup. You can also use a chicken broth. You have to be really careful about your broth. So in reading the ingredients, you don't want to buy any broth that says flavor on it or natural flavor, because basically that's just like, it doesn't mean anything. Basically, it just means it's like a cover-up for any sort of chemical in a certain class. Natural flavor technically has to originally come from a food source, but still can be like some isolated chemical. It can even be MSG, and now a lot of times instead of putting MSG, which people know is not good for you or causes headaches and that sort of thing, they put flavor, natural flavor, artificial flavor. So you don't want to have any of that. I actually don't have chicken broth today or vegetable broth, so I'm going to use water, which is totally fine. You just, add about 3 cups of water down into your broth. So I just poured our water in here, and now we're just going to like bring it up to a boil, or to a nice low simmer, and let that soften up a little bit. And then we're going to add the squash in after we peel it, and we're going to blend it all up and make it nice and creamy. Okay, so we're just our soup is boiling like crazy here, so we're gonna add in the rest of our celery. It smells all nice and soft. The carrots are not completely soft, but they're soft enough to blend up, and they'll soften more after they're blended and cooked. Just gonna add that there. And I also like to add some parsley in. Then we're gonna take this and you don't want to put too much water in the beginning, because then when you blend it up, you're going to have too much space and you're going to have to blend twice and find a separate container. Okay, Okay, so it's really important not to put the lid on when you are blending up hot liquids because, as the gas expands, it's gonna like blow up and just blow all over you. I've done it before, covered in hot liquid, not fun. So we're just gonna throw a towel over that, kind of hold it down a little bit. It's gonna get the towel dirty, but it'll be okay. So we pulse it a little bit, and then we'll switch to high. Okay, whoa. Try to leave the towel on until it stops. See if that doesn't happen. Isn't that beautiful? What a beautiful base for our soup. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit more of our spice right at the end here. And then I'm gonna bring out that squash and butternut squash and cut it up and put it in the soup. Butternut squash is so great. It's like all red orange things. It's got beta carotene, which is another word for vitamin A, and vitamin A is one thing that's especially important for someone who smokes. Smoking can cause a vitamin A deficiency, and that can put that back in. So if you smoke, try to eat some orange vegetables with your carotenoids. Those carotenoids are also anti-inflammatory. Helps with a wide range of conditions, like asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, pretty much any sort of dysfunction in the body will cause some level of inflammation. I mean, even if you break your bone, stub your toe, it's causing inflammation. Okay, so this squash is super easy. Once a lot of people peel it before they roast it, or they'll peel it and then try to put it in the soup, but cooking it beforehand is so easy to see. I mean, half it just like peels right off there. That, or you can get a little knife and kind of poke at it. And I just let it, after I took it out of the oven, I just let it kind of sit up here for about 10 minutes. If you let the whole thing roast in the oven, you just cut it in half and then let it cool for about 10 minutes. Then you can kind of, if it's still a little hot, sometimes I get my hands wet first. Kind of makes a little molecular barrier there to the heat. You just scoop out the seeds here. Do this one. Remember, we'll go back to squash is really, really great. It's got those carotenoids in it. So it's anti-inflammatory. It's a great antioxidant. I was also reading how it can help regulate your blood sugar, which makes it really great for diabetics. See? Butternut squash is so sweet. It's one of my favorite winter squashes. You can actually buy them, when towards the end of the summer. They're available in the farmer's market. You can buy quite a few, and they'll last in a cool, dry place for 3 to 6 months. That's why they're called winter squashes, because they'll last all winter. A lot of people think it's winter squash because they're grown in the winter. That's actually not true. You have to grow them in the summertime. You have to plant it, harvest it before the first frost. And it's the same growing season as summer squash, but summer squash is called summer squash because it won't last into the winter. It only lasts during the summer. Okay, and of course, like any vegetable, you're getting tons of fiber, which is really great for colon health and decreasing your cholesterol, regulating your blood sugar, all that great stuff. Okay, just adding this in here. Oops, skin has escaped. Ooh, hot! Okay, I think I need a little helper. I'm actually pretty resistant to burns. It happens all the time, so I don't even notice anymore. All right, so we just got that in there, and actually I'm going to add a tiny bit of water, and then I'm going to blend it up. You could also, I didn't think of this because I wasn't quite that smart, but you could just put that squash straight in the blender and blend it up with a little water and then add it into there and stir it all together. But looks like we're going to have to scoop it up into the blender. You also, if you wanted, you could not even blend up the squash. You could just kind of cook it and it would kind of, come apart. Or you could chop it up into smaller pieces and have a chunkier soup. You know, you could even just skip all that and just like roast that squash and blend it up with some olive oil and be good. You know, if you're making food for your baby or your young child, you can just roast that squash, blend it all up with some olive oil, and they'll love it. It's so, so easy. I mean, crazy to buy all that canned baby food. This will be so much more nutritious. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little more water. You can add however much water or broth you wanted. If you added broth, it would use 1 quart of broth, and then if you needed to, you could add a little bit more water. So I'm going to make this a little bit thinner here. I started with 3 cups of water, and I probably added 2 more cups, so we have a total of about 5 cups of water. See, so there we have a real thick soup. I personally like my soup a little thinner. But it's your choice, however you like it, make it your recipe. Let's see, taste. Wow. That's really good. Okay, I'm just going to show you my beautiful green onions I grew. They took me like a year to grow, but they did grow. And actually, they're really great because you grow them and like, they'll be in the ground, you know, and I'll just take a piece off. You can see like there's where I broke off a piece. And they'll keep growing. So they didn't really take a year, but they've been in the ground for like a year. But this one was looking like a big monster. So I'm just gonna I like to grow all my like herbs. The herbs tend to be really expensive, but when you grow them, it's so cheap, and then you always have them there and just play around with your cooking. So just chop up some of this, and you don't have to, but I love to have like a little bit of green onion on top of my soup. Isn't that beautiful? And really, the actual prep work of this soup was about 10 minutes or less. You know, it takes a while to cook, but you can just throw it in the oven, just do whatever else you need to do. Chill out at home while it's cooking. You can find these recipes and a whole lot more at foodsmarty.wordpress.com, or you can find my website, which has a lot of information and it's a lot of delicious baked goods, at food-smarty.com. Be sure to leave a comment, or I'd really appreciate a comment, and rate my video. That'd be great. And also be sure to subscribe to our channel, and that way you can get all the rest of the great cooking videos that I'm going to be doing. Thanks for watching, and learn to be a food smarty.